All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are in for a real treat on Sportswire Radio tonight. We are actually tonight here in our friends in Greece because we are actually speaking with somebody that just wrestled, I want to say literally about, maybe 40 or so minutes ago as a part of the
Yes.
main event here. Our friends over at the Greek Wrestling Association. He's also a part of some really, really big matches coming up. We're going to talk all about that, plus his journey and everything else related to the Greek Wrestling Association. They call him the Shadow, but they also call him the Messiah of the Greek Wrestling Association. We're going to find out if he lives up to both. He needs no further introduction, but because this is his first time here on Sportswire Radio, he's going to get the standard introduction and treatment that everybody else gets here. So with that, without further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, the Messiah,
That was
the
awesome.
Shadow, James. My friend, how are you?
Best introduction ever. Best introduction ever.
Well, I think the only reason that I think people still come to Sportswire radios these days is because of those introductions. And I kind of wanted to throw a little bit of a football around the world reference there because I did the global and the long holding of the note because I wanted to reference, obviously, World Cup here from our women's side of it. But we've got people tuned in here, and I'll get to those people in a second, Jay. But obviously, it's great to be with you. Literally just saw you outside in the
Thank you.
GWA arena there and take part in
Yep.
the match. So for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, you guys, though, came up a little short, and tell us why and what happened.
First of all, you all saw it. You saw it. I
I
don't
did.
think that's what they call a clean victory. They clearly attacked us from behind, me and my cousin, while
Yes. Jack.
Alberto was
For
down.
those that are watching here, Jack is
He,
your cousin.
he choked me from behind. I obviously didn't expect it. So for some people, for some wrestlers that they call themselves good guys, I don't think that was very good from their side. That was a bad move, honestly. And they call me like someone who takes advantage of the situation. So
So you feel
I don't
like
know.
that it really was kind of almost like a
We
tainted
were robbed.
victory.
We were robbed. Yes,
But they
we
do
were
say,
robbed.
though, in wrestling that they don't kind of give you an asterisk. They don't give you almost like a do-over. In the record books, you guys did lose.
Yeah. Sadly, we lost. I mean, it is what it is. But does it really matter?
So, I mean, where do we go from here? Obviously, we're going to get into a couple of big matches here that you have coming up here, but this is obviously not what you hoped for in the momentum, but it was a six-man tag. So, I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
you didn't take the pin. So, I guess that's kind of maybe the saving grace here. I mean, what do you take away then from this match? Because obviously, Ground Zero, for those that haven't got a chance to see it, you can go on the YouTube page of the Greek Wrestling Association to watch the match and more or less see what happened and to see if you were correct and maybe everybody else wasn't.
I mean, look, I don't know what to say. Like, I think that the skull obviously came from behind and choked me, right?
Yes, you were
That's what
choked from the
happened.
outside, and you couldn't do anything. There was no way
Yes,
you were going to break up that pin. Right.
Besmir also attacked my cousin Jack, so Alberto was left hanging. He didn't have anyone on his corner. Then a silent duelist came from behind, kicked him in the head and stole the victory. Um, Really, I don't know what to say about these guys. They have been a thorn in my side since the beginning of GWA. Skull Rider, Besmir, they have stood in my way a lot of
Silent
times,
Duelist
actually.
also was going to be a part of a huge match, and he was the one that got the pin, by the way.
Yes, he's facing the guy that he pinned, Alberto Brainer.
Yep, in a
Fun
two out of
fact:
three falls match,
two
nonetheless.
out of three falls. Silent Duelist was our old commentator, the first ever that we ever had, and he was continuously making fun of Alberto Brainer throughout his commentary in all of the episodes. So I guess
Maybe that got into
Alberto is going.
Alberto's head a little bit. You think? Maybe it kind of
He
got into.
got into Alberto's head because we've talked about it. We talked about it before the match. In the other tag team match that we had in the last Ground Zero, where I was teaming with Alberto to face only Skull and Silent Duelist. He has gotten into his head because he just annoys him for no particular reason. So, I mean, who's really the bad guy in this rivalry?
And I have to ask you because obviously we saw at the beginning of GWA TV about this whole anonymous general manager here. I mean, what do you make of this, and what does this kind of lead into what could impact you and obviously some of your allies here in the match upcoming?
So, what could impact what
Well,
the
this
general
anonymous
manager?
general manager has been a huge part of things here in GWA, and
Yes.
obviously in the six-man tag from the fallout for you guys. What do you make of this anonymous general manager and kind of like where we go from here?
Yes, so I've had some run-ups with him in the past. Him announcing matches or other things like that. But sometimes he can do his job right. Like when I was in a rivalry with Alberto Brainer, he gave me the match that I wanted at One Shot at Glory, which was a special
Yep.
show that we did in February. But sometimes he can also be a little unfair, like in the last Ground Zero episode where I was cutting a promo after my win at Final Stop where I defeated Skull with my cousin
Yep.
Jack. Skull interrupted me, wanted to fight me. I didn't want to fight him because I've literally beaten him like every single time we've been in the arena together. So the anonymous GM interrupted, and he made official a tag team match for the main event of that episode where I couldn't team with my cousin Jack. So, I mean, sometimes he can be fair, sometimes he can be unfair, and I don't know what the
So are
future
you
holds for him.
saying that there's a level of unpredictability here when it comes to this general manager? So you think that
Yes,
there's no heavy-handedness here where it kind of favors one side or the other. So how do you feel about that though?
yes, there's certainly an unpredictable factor. And I think, it's good to be unpredictable, but sometimes this unpredictability can become unfair because I mean, the last episode, I couldn't team with my cousin Jack,
Yes.
who I've known him for the rest of my life. Who would I be able to team up with that would be as good of a partner as Jack? Because we've known each other since we were little kids. So obviously, Skull had the advantage, even though he couldn't have Besmir, his like closest friend as a tag team partner. But he got to choose a silent duelist who he's also very close to, and me and Alberto weren't really close at all. So I
Obviously,
mean,
obviously.
it can be unfair, but okay, I don't know.
Well,
I
I
don't know
guess we're
what to
going to have
say.
to find out. And if you are out there, you'd like to follow the Greek Wrestling Association, you can do that on Instagram at Greek underscore wrestling underscore association. They are one of the few companies out there in Greece that does anything related to wrestling. So definitely make sure you check them out here. And we just are getting the fallout here from the six-man main event match here at Ground Zero, episode 23, where Skull Rider, the Silent Duelist, and Besmir had defeated our guest here tonight, the Shadow, Jay Gaz, along with Alberto Bernier and Jack via pinfall. But we'll certainly see. I have no doubt that we'll see things change a little bit here when it comes to our guest here, Jay Gaz. And I have some comments. I'll get to them in a few minutes. But also here, talk about this story time with the storyteller segment. We saw a lot of that tonight. I mean, talk about this segment that we see here on these shows with the storyteller.
So, storyteller is someone who wasn't with us from the start of GWA. We obviously started we had our first show in September of
Yes,
2022,
2022.
and yes, and I think he joined in on February of that year, February or
Of
March. I
this
don't
year.
remember
Yeah, a
exactly.
few months ago, basically.
Yes, so since he has been a part of GWA, he has been posting these cryptic Insta stories or posts or talking about us in his little show, the story time with the storyteller. And I really don't know what's up with him. Like I've never talked to him before. I don't know him. He wasn't a wrestler in any past promotions that I may have worked in or I was watching. So there's also an unpredictability right there. He has been someone who I choose to keep an eye on because I mean I don't know what he's up to, what he tries to accomplish, what
So
he
it
wants to
sounds
do.
like almost that you have a little bit more of, I guess, a concern, you might say, with
Yes,
the
he's been
storyteller versus the
targeting.
anonymous GM. Yeah.
He has been targeting basically the whole roster, especially Silent Duelist. He also left a note for him on the
Yes,
last
I saw that
episode.
at the previous show. Yes, I did see at the end of the show. We saw
Yes,
almost kind of, I guess it was like in the dirt almost in the GWA arena, and we kind of saw
yes,
it
yes.
look up, and it was just like everybody was kind of
It
like,
was also yes. I don't know where that came from. Obviously, me and Alberto didn't put it there. We didn't know anything about it, and it was written by someone named Achilles. I don't
yes,
know who Achilles is. This name has been mentioned by the
on TV.
storyteller
Yep.
sometimes, but I really have no idea what's the problem with him. I only have one message for him, and it's to stay away from me because we've seen what I've done to other people that have stood in my way.
Okay, but still, it seems to me as if this storyteller doesn't seem to be phased by any of you in the GWA. So, I mean, I think that's going to be kind of hard to accomplish there, though, no?
Yes, it will be. I know that he isn't unfazed. I've seen all of the story times. He's also so weird. Like he makes these video packages with all of us, and he's threatening to burn Silent Duelist, to break up me and my cousin, to I don't know, implode us from the inside. I don't know what's up with him, but I mean, Skull Rider wasn't scared of me when we first started in GWA, but I've beaten him every single time. So consider this a warning, storyteller, if you're watching
Well,
this.
I'm going to get to Mr. Ryder in a few minutes. I do have some comments here. Omen Black, who is from the IMF, says Messiah, I think not. Fodis Rats, I believe I got said LOL. The good guy, CJ Black. Careful, Jay. Tom doesn't recognize good guys when he sees one. Yeah, well, this is a guy that fakes an injury, and we're not going to go into that. Obviously, it's different show, different time, different place. I've watched your stuff. I can most certainly say, get out of the business and not impressed. So you're obviously getting a different crowd here. Oh my God, the Messiah. And also, I want to give a big shout out to my very good friend, the Big Cheese, Mr. Big Cheese Logan, who I believe we're going to be seeing on Sportswire very soon. Just a quick visit tonight, gents. I hope you're well. And the Big Cheese is also going to be in action now, back-to-back weekends here coming up in the first week of September. September the 1st, we're going to see him over in Championship Wrestling Entertainment. And then right afterwards at the Legend, which I'm surprised about this here, kind of a almost maybe an inside thing here. He's going to be at the Marty Jones Academy thing there, September the 8th. Very surprised at the Big Cheese going to take a part of that, but I'm sure we'll speak about that undoubtedly very soon on Sportswire. Daniel Banner just made his debut in GT Ministries last weekend at the Fountains Church in Bradford at Numbers Ready to Rumble. And he did the Hadouken, which I'm still kind of baffled at why he did Hadouken. Says, hello, Tom and Jay. I'm meeting more wrestlers each week, and I'm enjoying more of these shows. And we're going to definitely get you on, Mr. Banner. I want to time it to when you return back in the ring, maybe before the 16th. I know that we have Chronicles 2 coming up. Wrestling Church is also going to take place. I think we were looking at August 20th, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the date that Gareth had mentioned. So we'll definitely be talking with you for sure. Good vibes, face green, smiling. I thank you for that. Also, something in Greek, America #1. Also, when did Borat #3 come out? Loving this. Well, I mean, most people wouldn't say too much about your looks, but that's not about you. And he also goes on about the wrestling nexus because there are some people that obviously feel certain things about it. But I did want to ask you also in the news about WrestleFest, and that the host of WrestleFest is going to be none other than Anthony Arias, and talk about that and what does that mean for the company.
First of all, I'll get to Anthony Harris in a second. Everyone that says that I don't belong in this business, or I should get out, or any of this, I only have one message. I don't care. Simply. I mean,
Okay.
Who else does springboards on concrete?
Okay. Well, I mean, look, there's people out there that they have differences of opinions. Some people, I mean, they want to stick to their gimmick. Like we have this guy, CJ Black. He's a good guy, and he's like, this is who I am, and that's fine. If it works for them. You have other people that you might be aligned with that, are certainly, a little bit questionable in their opinion. So I think wrestling is almost like the almost how can I put it? In America, we have a thing called Baskin Robbins, and in wrestling, there's like 31 flavors for 31 different people. So that's kind of that. But obviously, I'll come
Yeah.
back to some more stuff. But Anthony Arias, talk about him being the host of WrestleFest, and what does
So,
that mean for you guys?
um, yes, Anthony Harris. That's obviously something big for us. He's obviously the one that owns the owner of Bucket Wrestling
Yes,
Nexus.
we've
He
covered him
created,
before in the past. Sure.
yes. This is a very big moment for us to have someone host our biggest special show of the year, WrestleFest. And I'm pretty excited for what he has to say about the show and what he will do. I've heard a rumor that he will be the one to introduce the championship.
Oh, interesting. Now, what does that mean then to have him be the host? I mean, obviously, he's been a huge staple in backyard wrestling and setting up this nexus, which again, some people, obviously feel that there's some opinions out there that maybe it's not, you know, to what's to par, and other people from your company and others might feel differently. So, what does that mean, more or less?
Um, well, Anthony, first of all, is like he's one of my closest friends in the whole bucket wrestling community. So it's a very big moment for me because he also told me that if I win the match and become the champion, I also get to become the Messiah of the Yard, which is a pretty big title. I call myself the Messiah of Greek bucket wrestling, which I think I am because no one has accomplished what I have. I was the first ever Rumble match winner of GWA, and I think I was the first ever to win a Rumble match in all of Greek bucket wrestling. So to have him host the show that has the biggest match of my career, it's an honor. I feel very honored, and I am certainly going to win this match because I've defeated Skull in the past, and
But
I
I
want the
will say
title
one
in his
thing, and I'm
hand.
going to get to some more comments. I want to give everybody a chance in a second, and I promise I will. And I'll come to everybody regardless of whatever people say. I always like to give people a chance on Sportswire. One of the most difficult things to do is to continue to beat somebody multiple times. I covered a lot of sports. I've covered a lot of athletes. I've had a lot of coaches on. I've also had on a lot of professional wrestlers out there that have, won world titles, been in main events, all the different stuff in the different scenes, especially in England. Daniel Banner knows a lot of those names. Just because your track record's great against Skull Rider, you know, on the biggest stage for something out there for what this prize is for, your luck may not be as good. That's the only thing conversely I'll say because he's going to have a lot of motivation and he's got momentum right
Def-
now.
Definitely, but I am someone who doesn't believe in luck. Like
Okay.
I think that based in uh, it's not based in luck. It's based on your mindset, your skills, your passion for it. And I mean, Skull. Okay, he has beaten me in the past, but I've beaten him like 4 times, and he has like two. And he has beaten me in matches that were triple threats, were tag teams, where
No, I
I
get
didn't.
that, but when you have sometimes when you have something that's on the line for the biggest prize, people all of a sudden kind of morph into a different person. In championship
Yeah.
matches, anything can happen here. Let me get to some more comments. Daniel Banner says, "How is the wrestling scene in Greece? Because wrestling started in Greece in the Roman times. So, how is the Greek wrestling scene?" And I'll get to more people in a second. So, what is the scene in Greece like?
Uh, what's the scene of wrestling in Greece? Sadly, it isn't popular. We only have like one real promotion in Greece.
Hmm.
It's called Smack. You can check it out. But yeah, there aren't a lot of people who watch it. And sadly, it's not popular. But
Well, why
whoever
is that
watches,
though? Why is it that in Greece, let's say, for example, that there's a lot of people that don't watch wrestling? Is there a reason you think that that is?
yes, I think it's because they like stigmatize a lot. A lot of Greek people like to stigmatize things like they have with wrestling. They basically say that, oh, wrestling is fake, so we don't need to
Well,
watch
I
it.
mean, well, I could sort of see that in some ways. I mean, I actually, for those that may be listening and watching, I'm from New York City, and I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, where I grew up actually had probably one of the larger Greek populations in the United States at the time. So I mean, I
Yes,
actually,
yeah,
I was in school with a lot of Greek friends, and I to this day I've obviously actually worked for some. I have a career in politics, and I've worked for some people that were from Greek background, so I understand a little bit of the Greek culture. And I think it's safe to say that basketball and football are the two big sports in Greece, from what I recall
yes, yes,
correctly.
yes, exactly, exactly. Especially football, a lot of people
Yes.
watch
Well,
it,
football, I
and
always
yes,
knew. Football, I always knew. Basketball has also become very popular in Greece. That I know also because I've covered actually some European basketball players. So I appreciate that.
yeah.
Also, big is anime, and Daniel Banner says, "At least I'm embracing my love of anime." CJ Black makes a good point here, and I'm going to give it to him here, actually. And I think CJ is right. And I like to always call a spade a spade. And he says, "I'm going to shoot real quick. You guys got some potential, and I've told them this. But what they really need to do is be able to take criticism and not cry about it." I want to phrase it in a different way because he makes actually a fair point in that in wrestling, you have to sometimes there's an old expression called constructive criticism. And, if
Yes.
there's somebody that could help and maybe give you some pointers, it would help, obviously, what you guys are trying to do. I mean, so I'll phrase it in a different way because he makes an excellent point. And I think this goes for anything in life. It doesn't have to just be wrestling. But do you guys speak to, let's say, maybe some other wrestlers that have more experience or have done different things to kind of help you guys? Because obviously that could be something that would help not just in growing the company, but also for what you guys want to do and showing your love and appreciation of wrestling.
Yes, so I actually love criticism. I try to take as much criticism as possible because I am someone who believes in improvement a lot. I think there's always some room for improvement. I'm trying
Sure.
to get better every single day. Um, so I try to talk to a lot of backyard wrestlers who can give me some advice on maybe character work or in ring work or anything in general. So I don't think I have ever cried about criticism. I embrace it because it's something that can make me better, and I believe, as I said, in getting better because there's always room for improvement, and there always
Okay.
will be.
That's certainly fair, and I'd obviously like people to follow Jay. If you're on Instagram, give him a follow. He is on Instagram at J_GAZ_official. That is J_GAZ_official. You can give him a follow. And I have here another good question from Daniel. People say wrestling started in the circus, but it actually started in Greece during the Roman Olympics. Yeah, which is kind of interesting because when you think about the
Yes.
start of wrestling, right, it all came from Greece, but yet it's not so
It's
popular in
not
Greece. I
possible.
even I even think about when that at the time the WWF, they were doing kind of tours of Europe, kind of when things were down a little bit. And we were speaking about this off the air. I don't remember the WWF even going to Greece, kind of like when they did the European tours from around, I think it was about 94 to 97. They would do these European tours, whether it was Israel, they did Kuwait, they did Germany. They did all these different European places, and they didn't come to Greece. So I kind of think it's interesting that wrestling started really in your country, and yet it's not so popular almost.
Yes, I mean it was popular. It was a little more popular in the WWF days in the 80s, 90s, and I know it because my father used to watch it. He's now 46 years old. He
Okay.
used to watch it. His friends used to watch it. So it was more popular back then. I don't know why it phased out, but I mean, there was a time where it was pretty popular in Greece.
Sure, sure. I could certainly understand that. And I wanted to ask you a question because I always ask this question to everybody that comes on Sportswire. And so, how did you get your start in wrestling then?
How did I started wrestling? So, wrestling was always like a big part of my life. I started watching in 2013. My
Okay.
first ever match that I watched was a 6-man tag team match with the Shield versus, I think it was Jericho, Sheamus, and Randy Orton.
Yes,
Um,
that would make
yes,
sense. That was the beginnings of the Shield. Correct. Your 2012
yes,
they
the
debuted,
beginnings of the Shield.
2013. Yep.
Hence the all the relations with Seth Rollins. A lot of people have told me that I've taken
Well, you
inspiration
have the
from.
stomp. Obviously, I've seen your stomp, and
Yes, the
yes.
stone. Fun fact: the jacket that I wear is the same that he wears in his entrances.
Yeah,
So
I
yes,
did notice a little bit of the, and I kind of see a little bit how you've incorporated that parkour style because Seth
yes,
Rollins had
yes,
famously,
exactly.
when he started out, had kind of become big into the parkour scene, which really also was borrowed from originally at the time Jeff Hardy. So yeah, I can see a little bit of the resemblances there and kind of your approach in a Seth Rollins. Okay, yeah, it makes sense.
Yes, he's also like my favorite wrestler. So obviously, there's inspiration from there, and the parkour style comes from Seth. And also, I did some parkour when I was little with my dad, so I've kind of incorporated it into my wrestling style. So yeah, I mean, that's how I got my style. But it wasn't the style that I always used to have in my matches because when I started wrestling, I was more of like a striker,
Well,
punching.
you did the Superman punch, if I'm not mistaken, also in the match as well. You did the Superman
Yes,
punch.
yes, 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 the Superman punch. So I started wrestling like to get back to your question. I started wrestling like 2 years ago, two and a half in I think May of 2021. Um, I was wrestling in a different show at the time, Greek Wrestling House.
Okay.
It was like the what?
I said, okay, that makes sense.
Yes, yes, yes. It was at the time the biggest backyard wrestling show in Greece. Now they've kind of like phased out. They aren't so active anymore. Um, my first ever match was with my partner today, Alberto Brainer. We had our debut against each other. Um, so yes, that's where I started. I was also in a faction in a tag team with someone called Geo Flaming. He was like a I was like kind of his disciple, and we were in a tournament for to crown the first ever champion on that show. We managed to get in the finals, both of us, and I betrayed him because I saw the opportunity and I grabbed it. Sadly, I lost, but CWH closed after the biggest show that they had the championship match. And then after a year, in September of 2022, we had our first GWA show, Ground Zero, Episode 1, and that's where my career, I would say, really kicked off.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I could certainly see some of those different things, and I think it's interesting to kind of ask your background. Obviously, seeing what you guys wrestle in, it certainly does kind of remind me a little bit of a skateboard kind of scene. I mean, is that by design? I mean, I'm curious on kind of how you guys wrestle because it seems like it's almost like an abandoned skate park or some type of underneath like a trestle almost. I mean, you want to talk about that for those that are out there watching this?
Yes, it's not like a skateboard. It's not a skateboard park actually. Um, it's like a big. I don't know how to call it, but it's a parking with like some buildings which are used for some public meetings
Okay.
for
Kind of
the
like
that
office space
area.
then. Sure. Okay.
Yes, but you can also skate there. I mean, it's basically a lot of things crumbling in one big park, something like this.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I can certainly see some of that. It does add somewhat to the design here of what you guys are also offering. But we are here on Sportswire Radio speaking with the Shadow, Jay Gaz, who just came off his huge six-man tag here, episode 23 of Ground Zero from the Greek Wrestling Association. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, and if you are on Sportswire Radio and you're on YouTube, I hope you give us a subscription at Sportswire Radio. Also, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a week. You can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/play. And I'll be back here Sunday night with more coverage of the world of professional wrestling and also other companies because I'll speak with WCE Wrestling Championship Entertainment, Sean Jovi, the resident rock star, and James Marshall. That'll be for the Interstate Openweight Championship. That'll be 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So it'll be this Sunday on Sportswire Radio. We'll have a lot to cover there when it comes to Jovi and Marshall. So stay tuned for that. I'll also have coverage coming up here Tuesday more from WC when it comes to Skulls. Skulls the Soul Hunter will talk about his recent return to the ring after 14 years against most notably Craven Rage for the WCE All Out Championship. So we are here on Sports Wire Radio speaking all things related to the world of Greek Wrestling Association with the Shadow J. Guys. Now I have to ask it to you. What are your thoughts on this 2 out of 3 falls match between Alberto Bernier and the Silent Duelist? Because it seems to me as if that this is going to be another match we kind of talked about here that I think a lot of people are going to be really curious for when it comes to the GWA.
So, what are my thoughts on this match?
Yes.
Obviously, this is a rivalry that has been building since like the first Ground Zero episode or the second, because as I said before, Silent Duelist was our old commentator, the first one.
Yes.
He was a former wrestler actually in Greek Wrestling House too. Then he turned into then he wanted to commentary for Greek Wrestling Association, and he was consistently making fun of Alberto Brainer for no particular reason. Alberto didn't have any running with him on Greek Wrestling House or anywhere basically. So Alberto Brainer was made fun of for basically no reason by Silent Duelist. It was boiling up. Silent Duelist used to confront him after matches and make fun of him. Sometimes he also made his GWA in-ring debut in the Rumble Kingdom match where he eliminated Alberto. He answered Alberto's open challenge and he defeated him. He was the special guest referee in Alberto's match with Besmir at Final Stop, which he wasn't a fair referee. He gave Besmir the advantage and he defeated Alberto, and he basically has been a thorn on his side since day one of GWA. So my thoughts on this is that. Silent will get what he deserves in that match because Alberto is really angry about all of this. He has been angry since day one. He never did anything to Silent, never made fun of him, never even talked to him. So I think that Brainer has the advantage because he's more focused. He's been doing this for. He's been active. He's been active
A little
since
more
September.
than the Silent Duelist.
Yes,
He's
yes,
got
yes.
a little bit more
Really,
experience, in a match like this
Yes,
where it's you're gonna have to have more endurance, you're gonna have to use more of your ring
exactly.
experience.
And Alberto has shown a lot of times that he has a lot of endurance. His stamina is really good. He's also really smart, hence his nickname, the scientist and the smart one.
Yes.
He has also defeated me in the past with smart tactics. And I think that he's got the advantage going into the match.
Well, we're going to certainly find out. Obviously, very interesting here. We'll have to see if that's the case here. Silent Duelist still has a little bit of momentum, but we'll again see if that's going to continue. And I want to say hello here to Speaking to Champions, our reigning defending RCW Underground Champion of the World, Nicholas Crenton
Good
from
afternoon.
Wrestling Championship Entertainment. He's going to be back with us here coming up next Monday, August the 7th. So the new Messiah, he is the new Messiah. You might be trying to be the Messiah. He is the new Messiah. He is tuned in. He says hello. So we say hello to Nicholas Crenton as well. So I obviously
Good
have to
afternoon.
talk about what was announced toward the end of the show, and we touched upon it very briefly, Jay, is that we are going to see for the Greek Wrestling Association Championship, you and Skull Rider. Obviously, this has been the premier rivalry in the Greek Wrestling
Yes.
Association. So I have to talk right off the bat and ask you, for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio, what would it mean to you to be the first ever Greek Wrestling Association World Heavyweight Champion?
So what it would mean for me? Um, it would be an absolute honor because since day one, I've been trying to establish my name in the whole backyard wrestling community. I want people to know who Jay Gaz is. I want people to, when they think of GWA Greek Wrestling Association, I want my name to pop in their mind like the face of the company. So it would be an honor, and it's my premier goal because this championship is an opportunity for us to showcase what Greek backyard wrestling is about in the right way. This is an opportunity for us to push this industry forward. And this is an opportunity for us to have a world heavyweight championship that's about more than politics and part timers like some other people in some other shows. So it would be an absolute honor.
WrestleFest is the company's biggest show to date. Is there pressure for you guys to put on a show that's going to live up to those expectations? I mean, talk about WrestleFest in a second and just how big of a show this is, and certainly I know you guys are going to be working very hard to put on a strong show.
Yes, so there's definitely some pressure. At least for me, because I'm in the first ever championship match. I'm in the main event of the show. I mean, it's up to me and Skull to like establish the GWA name, establish this championship, make it prestigious. So I think there's pressure not only from me, but from Skull, from Alberto, from Silent
Jack,
Duelist,
Silent
and
Duelist, yep.
Jackson, Joyce, Busmir.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of pressure, and we have delivered in the past, so I'm sure we will deliver in at WrestleFest too. But there is a lot of pressure. But I usually try to take advantage of the pressure, let it fuel me before my matches, so I can put on a better performance. And I think we will deliver.
Okay, I mean, obviously, we're going to certainly find out, and I want everybody to follow the Greek Wrestling Association, subscribe to their YouTube page, also Greek underscore wrestling underscore association to follow the group on Instagram and find out more information. So I'm going to ask you a question. Obviously, Anthony's going to be the host, and I'm going to come back to Anthony for a second. Do you ask
Yes.
him, let's say, a lot of advice? Have you asked him a lot in particular? Because this is obviously his thing with the Nexus. Do you speak with him a lot in terms of, making sure that this event goes on to what you might hope for?
Yes, first of all, Anthony is like my closest friend,
As you
friend from
mentioned,
the
yep.
bucket.
Hmm.
We talk on a regular basis. I I ask him for advices. He gives me advices. He has helped me in the past with my character. We've we've chatted wrestling for hours, not only for backyard wrestling, but wrestling in general. And yes, I think he has a lot to offer as the host. I mean, he's a pretty big name on the
No,
backyard
absolutely. Yeah,
wrestling
he's had a
community.
long career. I mean, he's been out there in a number of
He's
different
known.
companies, and he's had a lot of, a lot of runs with a lot of
So,
different people. Sure.
exactly. He's also the current SGW champion. He
Yep.
defeated Saddam Reeves at Heart of Glory. So I think he has a lot to offer as the host, and I am sure that he will bring eyes to the product. And what a better way to do it at the biggest show of GWA WrestleFest.
Oh, absolutely, no question about it. Now, you guys being from Greece, and I know that a lot of the nexus is from mostly in the United States. So, how have you found working with these other companies for you guys, and how has that been? And maybe in terms of like, I guess sharing
Yes.
content, or also maybe just working to maybe improve whatever else you can do out there.
Yes, so it's. I have to say that it's been an absolute blast for me. I've enjoyed my time on the Nexus a lot. I've made some friends. I've talked to people. Uh, I've taken obviously a lot of advices from a lot of different people. I've seen some new companies from all over the world. Uh, and it's really fascinating for me to have like this big community called Nexus and have people from all over the world basically in it. So I can chat with someone from the UK on the same subject because of because of backyard wrestling. So it's fascinating for me because, like I said, wrestling isn't that popular in Greece. So I have found my people that I can chat about wrestling with, and I've enjoyed my time in it. It
Which again,
has
I
helped
always
us a
found
lot.
so fast. I always found so fascinating because, again, to me, I would have thought because of the history, like Daniel Banner had mentioned, of Greece and wrestling, that it would have been more popular. But again, like I said, we were speaking off the air, and I had thought about it. And even again in the '90s, when the WWF at the time had done a lot of those European tours, they never came to Greece. So I always found that kind of fascinating. And obviously, Anthony, you
Yeah.
can follow on Instagram at sgw.cursivearea. So make sure you follow him. He's also obviously been a multiple champion Hall of Famer. So great stuff here. So I want to ask you then, obviously, got about another 15 or so minutes with you, and I really appreciate the opportunity you've given us here tonight on Sportswire Radio to kind of talk all things GWA. And we're looking forward to the next episode of Ground Zero, and obviously WrestleFest ahead, going to be a huge show, obviously a historic one here in this company's history, and we're really looking forward to it. It's just about, we're coming up on the 1 year mark, so obviously this is a big event because we're thinking about the 1 year anniversary, and we're thinking about all the great shows that are ahead in the future. But I mean, if you were to give final words before the match for the GWA title with Skull Rider, what would those final words be here on Sportswire?
So, final words um, about Skull and the match. First of all, before I get into that match, as you said, we're closing in on WrestleFest. So for the next episode, I am going to throw a challenge right here to one of the wrestlers that I faced today for the next
Ooh,
episode.
ooh.
Yes. So I know that he's watching it or he will be watching it. Silent Duelist, I challenge you to a one-on-one match on the next episode of Ground Zero. And if you have the guts, face me.
Wait. So
This
are
is
you telling us that you've actually, the man that just got a victory on tonight's show in the main event, the Silent Duelist, that you're challenging him for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio?
yes. I'm challenging him for the main event on the next episode of Ground Zero. Silent Duelist, accept my challenge because you said some pretty harsh things about me too in the past, and you've done some things to me in the future. In the future too, you've done some things to me in the tag team match that we had 2 weeks ago. Right now, so I'm actually throwing a challenge, and I want you to accept it and face me like a man.
Wow. Well, you know what? Will it be a challenge to a duel, as they might say, between the Shadow J Gaz and the Silent Duelist? Well, it looks to me as if We very well might find out here. You'll find that episode of Ground Zero, which will be the
Yeah.
24th episode of Ground Zero coming up. That'll be 2 weeks from today. So it'll be on August the 12th or August 13th,
And we'll
depending on
see
the
if he
time.
accepts. I mean, I want him to accept because I owe him a beating for what he
So
did
you
to
want
me.
him to accept. Do you think there's any way, though,
Yeah,
that
I
he won't
want him to
accept?
accept it. What did you say? Can you repeat it,
I
please?
said that you're not concerned in any way that he might say, you know what, I don't want to face you. I got to focus on my 2 out of 3 falls match with Alberto Bonnier and just kind of worry about that. I mean, are you concerned at all that he may not want to face you?
Um, I think he will accept the challenge because he is foolish. We've seen it in the past. He has gotten himself into situations that didn't end up so well for him, and he he plays like this strong guy, the one that can read your mind and your the move that you're about to do because he has been commentating our shows and he like
Yes.
knows all about. So if he's really as good as he says he is, I want him to accept this challenge so he can face me the next episode of Ground Zero, the
But you're
main
not
event.
concerned, though, that you're not focusing on winning this GWA title. You want to be the backyard messiah. You want to be the guy. There's a lot on the line here, and you could all of a sudden be putting this challenge and forgetting about the real challenge at hand, and that's winning that GWA title and becoming that backyard wrestling messiah. So are you concerned that you're maybe looking past Skull Rider by doing this?
No, no, because I view this match with Silent Julius as a warm up. Actually, I think that this match will help me, get more training for the big my big match with Ryder. It's more of a warm up for me, and I don't think I'm taking the eyes off the prize because I've been preparing for this match my whole career. This is the biggest match of my career, probably the biggest moment of my life yet. But I view this match with Silent Julius as a warm up, as a training session because I want to be 100% ready for it. And what better way to get a final match before the show?
Well, we're going to certainly find out. And again, I want everybody to please follow our very good friend, Mr. J Gaz, at J underscore Gaz with a Z official. That is J underscore Gaz underscore official on Instagram. You can also follow, again, the Greek Wrestling Association, Greek underscore wrestling underscore association. You can also follow the Backyard Wrestling Nexus. You can also do that on Instagram at the dot backyard.wrestling.nexus. Also want to say hello here before I get to closing thoughts here. Our very good friend Skulls the Soul Hunter, who we mentioned. Good afternoon, gentlemen. He's working some friends of mine who have a show out in California, the Valley Wrestling Connection, where my good friend Vito Fratelli is going to be wrestling. And I want to give a huge shout out to my also other good friend, promoter Darrow Johnson out there. Darrow's promoting that in Paris, California, which I think Skulls is just outside San Diego, if I'm not mistaken. So I want to make sure we say hello there. Also, speaking of California, I want to say hello to my friend Anastasia Riznia, who's out there in California. She's going through a couple of different things, and I want to give her my thoughts and prayers. She's going through some tough family issues at the moment. I want to make sure that she knows that she has my support and the rest of the Sportswire Radio gang. So, Anastasia, hope you're doing well. I pray for you, and we continue to have you in our wishes with your family. So, all stuff here taken care of. So, before I get to closing thoughts here, Jay, I want to ask you this question that I kind of ask wrestlers and everybody else that comes on all the time on Sportswire. What do you want to say to anybody that A, has been supporting the Greek Wrestling Association, you, but also conversely to those that might be hearing you the first time tonight and might want to decide whether or not they want to support you?
Yes, so after I answer your question, I have one final message for Skull Rider because I know he's watching this. What I have to say about the people that have been supporting us. First of all, thank you very, very much for the support. It's been an absolute blast seeing all the fans come and some episodes of Ground Zero, some special shows about us. Um, we all of us love producing shows for you. We love doing this, and we have no intention of stopping. So thank you very very much for the support, and we will continue to do the thing that we love to do. And for all of the people that are hearing me for the first time, I want to say to all of you that you can, if you want some authentic Greek backyard wrestling with hard hitting action and some battle of words, great matches. You can follow us. You can subscribe to us. We have shows every 2 weeks, every second Friday. Our main show, Ground Zero, and we will be continuing from here. And we love all the sport. We thank you all very very much.
Absolutely
And
no question about that. Go ahead.
I have one final message for Skal, which I didn't answer earlier. But Skal, I know that you will be watching this, so I respect you. You have been my wrestling soulmate for my whole life, actually. We faced each other a lot of times in the past. But that title is coming home because it's my destiny, and I need to win it. I need to become the Messiah. I need to be the champion. I need to make this title prestigious, and I am going to defeat you. So that's what I have to say about it.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to find out. Time will tell, and stay tuned again to the Greek Wrestling Association's Instagram page for more information on when WrestleFest will actually go on. So we obviously look forward to seeing more of that here. Want to say hello also to our friends over at the IMF. Say, how's it going, fellas? Well, it's going interesting here. We've had an interesting conversation. Obviously, we're getting ready to close up here with some closing thoughts here from Mr. J. Gaz, but I want people to follow the IMF on YouTube at IMF Wrestling 666. These guys put out great content. They do a great job in doing things out there in the wrestling community, and they're working on a thing called Summer Bash next year. It'll be with the IMF and our friends in the state of Ohio in America for DKW. So it'll be called Summer Bash 2, I think. Legendary Backyard Wrestling, also a part of the Backyard Wrestling Nexus, will probably be a part of that. I know WCE will be a part of that. Some other companies have also had some interest. So I want everybody to follow our friends at the IMF. Also, IMF_wrestling on Instagram, IMF Wrestling 666. Also, shout outs to Soldier GP, Omen Black, Jordan Nets, and everybody else here in the company, Felix Jones, Freddie Myers. I mean, everybody else out there that does a great job in the IMF, and we want to make sure that we support everybody out there in the world of wrestling. So, my friend, I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Obviously, looking forward to Ground Zero episode 24. We'll see if the duelist accepts the match to a duel. We'll see when WrestleFest takes note. But I want to give you the floor now, give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, say, and the floor is yours.
Make sure to watch WrestleFest because I'm gonna beat Skull Rider and I'm going to bring prestige to the Greek Wrestling Association World Heavyweight Championship, and I'm gonna make Greek backyard wrestling great.
Okay,
That's
well,
all I have to say.
we'll find out. I tell you what, we'll certainly find out. And I want again one more time everybody to follow the Greek Wrestling Association on YouTube at Greek Wrestling Association. Also, Greek_Wrestling_Association on Instagram. Also, J_GAZ_official on Instagram. You can also again follow the Backyard Wrestling Nexus. Make sure you follow them again. Ground Zero episode 23. If you haven't got a chance to watch it, it just took place. We saw stuff again, commentary from the anonymous GM. We saw a story time with the storyteller, and we saw the 6-man tag main event. Jack, Alberto Bernier, The Shadow, Jay Gaz against Skull Rider, Silent Duelist, and also Besmear. Can never forget about Besmear, even though he's got the maybe most interesting name here. So obviously go get your chance and watch it. It was just about 53 or 54 minutes long. So check that out here, and obviously good morning to you in Greece. I know it's about almost 12:30, so I thank you for your time.
It's
And I
12:30. Yes, yes. Good morning.
Yeah, because in New York
Yes,
it's
that's
5:25
true.
right now. So it was funny because growing up, I
Exactly.
actually had Greek friends, and I never asked them what the time difference was. Because I remember growing up, I had friends that they would
Yes,
go
yes.
away sometimes in the summer in Greece. I never thought, hey, what? I never thought all those years growing up, even when I
We
was
have
in
like
school.
an 8 hour difference from with New York.
I
So
gotta ask
I
you, do
mean,
you have any family in New York from Greece? Because again, in Brooklyn and even a
uh,
little bit of Staten Island, there's a large Greek population. Do you have any family here in New
okay.
York or elsewhere?
I think I have like a decent uncle from my dad's side in
Okay.
New York. I'm not too sure,
And also
but I
Queens as
think
well. Which Astoria was the real home for the Greek community, although it's changed a lot. But also here in New York City,
yes.
Astoria was the
I'm
mecca
actually
for that.
I'm
Mhm.
actually planning to come to New York in like a year with my girlfriend for like 2 or 3 months for
Okay.
like a vacation. So we'll see how that turns
Maybe
out.
we'll go. So
Hopefully,
maybe we'll meet next year. How about that? All right, we'll meet next year.
yes, yes. Oh, amazing. That
I
would be
look forward
amazing.
to it. I'm here all the time. So yeah, look forward to meeting you. That'll be a lot of fun, and I'll make sure the New York pizza's on me. All right, so we'll make sure of that.
Yes, yes. It's my favorite food, so I hope it will
Well,
be
you're going to
good.
be in luck because there's definitely I've met a couple of wrestlers so far here in New York, and that came here from the UK. So you'll be number three. So Skull says, "See everyone on Tuesday." When I'm in the chair. Yep, Skulls is going to be here. That'll be I believe what time Skulls will we again? Remind me. I think remind me off the air, but you'll probably be in bed by then. But great stuff, my friend. Obviously, congratulations. We look forward to watching more GWA content. Look forward to working with you guys
Thank
here.
you.
Tonight on Sportswire Radio, we were joined by the Shadow, Jay Gaz, who's the messiah of the Greek Wrestling Association. He'll be coming up here wrestling possibly against the Silent Duelist in episode 24 of Ground Zero. And he's also going to be in the main event of the Greek Wrestling Association's biggest show yet called WrestleFest. And he'll be taking on the Skull Rider. It'll be Skull Rider, not to be confused with Skulls the Soul Hunter. He'll be wrestling Skull Rider for that GWA World Championship, the first ever GWA champion to be crowned, and also the Backyard Wrestling Messiah as a part of that huge show. Again, GWA's page on Instagram, Greek_Wrestling_Association, Greek Wrestling Association on YouTube. Thank everybody here for tuning in. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, the man behind Sports by Radio. I'll be back here later today with more sports coverage this time, about a little after 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time, with the Sportswire Radio team talking all the things that are going on in the world of sports. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, on the number one global radio station that is Sports